Yeah, we're famous for our mud.
Famous for your mud? How's your Chinese food?
You just keep on asking about Chinese food. Can't you tell they don't have Chinese restaurants around here?
A few weeks after starting this podcast, I met Christina online and we talked about doing an episode on My Cousin Vinny. It's now 2025, I'll be doing the podcast for almost 4 years, and it's finally time to cover My Cousin Vinny.
And?
Well, I hate to bring it up because I know you got enough pressure on you already, but we agreed to get married as soon as you won your first case. Meanwhile, 10 years later, my niece, the daughter of my sister, is getting married. My biological clock is ticking like this, and the way this case is going, I ain't never getting married.
The entire idea for the movie was the product of Dale Launer, the screenwriter for Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and Ruthless People, who heard a story about a lawyer who took 13 times to pass the bar before finally passing. He thought to himself, what if you're traveling through the South, you get arrested for a murder you didn't commit, and the only guy who could possibly help you is the lawyer who failed the bar 12 times and passed on the 13th. He thought the idea was funny, but he didn't get to writing the script for a couple decades. By then he had so many ideas that the screenplay he ended up writing would have been a 3-hour-long movie. Dale Launer traveled the South while writing it, going from New Orleans to Jackson, Mississippi, where he got stuck in the mud, which then went in the script.
What's the problem?
Nothing. Car was shimmying on the highway a little bit.
Yeah, you got mud in your tires.
I got mud in my tires?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question. How do you get mud into the tires?
Oh, no, you see, that's just a figure of speech. See, the mud gets around the inside of the wheel, throws the balance off.
Alabama, and even interviewed an assistant district attorney. He got back and had a series of meetings with a lawyer named Doug Knoll. And 6 weeks later, he had a script to pitch to the president of 20th Century Fox, who wanted him to cut out the Lisa character, who he had based on a couple he knew that had been constantly going at each other, believing that the Lisa character's line should go to Vinny to make sure everyone knows he's actually smart. This is one of many elements of the movie that Launer would have to fight for. They attached a British director, Jonathan Lynn, and asked him to do rewrites, but Dale Launer considered him an unfunny hack. However, Jonathan Lynn has an English law degree, and because of this expertise, the movie is actually taught by law schools to this day, who are trying to show law students how to present expert witnesses. And the ABA has named it the third greatest legal movie of all time. The character Vinny that Dale Launer originally wrote is way different from how the movie turned out. Vinny is supposed to be a 220-pound former heavyweight boxer type guy, and he's even written as being dyslexic, which is why it takes so long for him to pass the bar. The actors they looked at, Andrew Dice Clay, Robert De Niro, Peter Falk, Danny DeVito, all would have been very different than the movie we get in My Cousin Vinny. Danny DeVito was approached both to star as Vinny and direct before Jonathan Lynn, but he wanted some pretty extreme rewrites and lost interest when Dale Launer didn't figure out how to change the screenplay to his liking.
He's going to show you the bricks. He'll show you they got straight sides. He'll show you how they got the right shape. He showed them to you in a very special way, so that they appear to have everything a brick should have. But there's one thing he's not going to show you. When you look at the bricks at the right angle, they're as thin as this playing card.
The quintessential fish-out-of-water story about an Italian-American lawyer played by Joe Pesci, who took 6 times to pass the bar and has never won a case, who has to represent his cousin played by Ralph Macchio and his friend played by Mitchell Whitfield after they're falsely accused of murder in Alabama. An Italian kid and a Jewish kid from New York up against the Southern legal system. Vinny is with his beautiful fiancée, Mona Lisa, played by Marissa Tomei.
What are you nervous about? I'm the one that's under the gun here. Trial starts tomorrow.
You want to know what I'm nervous about? I'll tell you what I'm nervous about. I am in the dark here with all this legal crap. I have no idea what's going on. All I know is you're screwing up, and I can't help.
On the southern side, the strict judge, Chamberlain Haller, played by Fred Gwynn of the Munsters, and Lane Smith, the smooth-talking prosecutor, Jim Trotter, as well as Bruce McGill as Sheriff Farley. It's a quintessential product of early 90s pop culture. The South portrayed in My Cousin Vinny is shorn of the most problematic Confederate, racially tinged elements. They even considered young Will Smith for the Mitchell Whitfield role, but realized the movie would have a much darker tenor, with a black kid railroaded by the Alabama legal system. The film was shot in a real working prison, but the courtroom was a set, both in Georgia. The prison, Lee Arundel State Prison, allowed the prisoners to be used as extras. The courtroom set was constructed originally for the TV show In the Heat of the Night. On top of being a sanitized version of stereotypes around the South, you can say the same thing about stereotypes about Italian Americans from New York. Although Joe Pesci won his famous Best Supporting Actor Oscar, in the middle of production for Goodfellas.
And the Oscar goes to Joe Pesci in Goodfellas.
Oh, it's my privilege. Thank you.
There aren't explicit references to the mafia and crime. I think fish out of water comedy works best that way. The comedy is mined from things like Joe Pesci's informal dress and manner, or being unaware of what grits are, or the language differences between a southern accent and Joe Pesci saying utes.
What word?
To what?
What?
Did you say utes?
Yeah, 2 utes.
What is a ute?
Oh, excuse me, Your Honor. 2 youths.
Joe Pesci and Marissa Tomei had a 22-year age gap filming the movie. In order to make Joe Pesci look younger, they used makeup and a device that pulled his face back with his toupee. The movie made back more than 20th Century Fox expected on an $11 million budget. It made $64 million at the box office, and it benefited from being even more popular on VHS, which is how some of the people who worked on it theorized that Marissa Tomei won the Best Supporting Actress Oscar because it was the first year that VHSs were provided to Academy members to watch at home.
Why is it a trick question?
Watch this.
Because Chevy didn't make a 327 in 55. The 327 didn't come out till 62. And it wasn't offered in the Bel Air with a 4-barrel carb till 64. However, in 1964, the correct ignition timing would be 4 degrees before top dead center.